What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS, bringing you a brand new video. In today's video, going over Week 9's Thursday night showdown between the Texans and Jets. This one is very tough looking at prices of how you're going to attack this slate. So you get two top 5 passing defenses in the league. You get a Texans team that's missing their top 2 receivers. You get a Jets team missing Allen Lazard. Some injuries on both sides defensively. And just the prices are so high right now on these players. So you get Mixon at 11K, Breece Hall at 10.4, and CJ Stroud at 10. So 3 players 10K or more on this showdown. Devontae Adams at 98, Garrett Wilson at 96, Tank Dell at 92, Aaron Rodgers at 9. So we get 7 players. Pretty much the only 7 players worth playing are all 9K and above. So it's very tough to figure out how you're going to attack this slate, right? We look at the captain prices, and these are ridiculous. So just going over, like, Joe Mixon at 11K, really good spot against the Jets. Jets allowing 125 rushing yards a game. Mixon has gotten over 100 rushing yards in every game that he's played fully. The last 2 games just killed it for the Texans, regardless of the result. 25 carries, over 100 yards, touchdowns, and gets the receiving work as well. Dameon Pierce already ruled out. Cam Akers not anymore. It's the Joe Mixon show. He's going to be their number 1 guy getting a majority of work tomorrow. It doesn't mean that there isn't value, but Mixon should get a majority of the volume. It's really hard on this slate to pick who you're going to fade. You get Breece Hall at 10.4 against Houston, to where Houston's played running backs really, really well this season. You see every now and then they are allowing some extra yards, some missed tackles. Maybe that benefits someone like Breece Hall, who, if you played Breece Hall in the main slate, you were very disappointed by 9.9 fantasy performance after the last 2 weeks, to where he's gotten over 100 total yards in both of them. The touchdowns have not been there for Breece Hall. He's got 4 so far this season. But the volume he's getting is very high. They kind of seem to go away from Braylon Allen with the offense coordinator switching, the play calling switching. But it's really hard to want to get someone like Breece Hall in this slate. I think going Braylon Allen might be better if you wanted to get a Jets running back than trying to pay 21.4 for both running backs. So yeah, if you guys are interested in the FanDuel side of this slate, we have that posted on our website for subscribers. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go check that out. The link for that will be in the description. But on DraftKings, we're kind of struggling to find pricing. CJ Stroud 10K, I like CJ Stroud. We have not seen much of last year's CJ Stroud that we've seen this year, right? You see him week 4 against Jacksonville, very close game. 340 passing yards, 40 passing attempts, 2 touchdowns. Week 5 against Buffalo, 38 pass attempts, 331 yards. But you see some of the other defenses against Indy, 234 and 2. Good Minnesota defense, 215 and 1. We just haven't seen a lot of CJ Stroud from last year. That's because of Joe Mixon. I'm just going to plain out say it. Devin Singletary did what he needed to do, but Joe Mixon is just very efficient for him. So that to me is the biggest difference. Now you're telling me CJ Stroud's without his top 2 pass catchers, and he's 1,000 more than Aaron Rodgers. I'm kind of liking the Aaron Rodgers aspect. Now, no CJ Mosley. Both, I believe it's the strong safety or the free safety is missing their top 2 safeties in that position. So they're really banged up in that aspect of their defense. It doesn't take away from their amazing corners in the pressure that the Jets defense gets, but it's really hard to pay for Stroud on a slate like tonight. And then you get both Jets receivers at 98 and 9,600. If I had to guess, Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson are going to split the slot snaps tonight. I just don't think one is going to overtake the other. I could be completely wrong, but it's just kind of the way they've lined up so far. Granted, it's a small sample size, but Mike Williams will be the third wide receiver, and you want Mike Williams on the outside, right? He's a big 50-50 catch wide receiver. That's where he's efficient and good at when he can be, I guess. But Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson going to fight for the slot snaps, and that's the biggest advantage for Jets pass catcher is the slot. They are also missing a starting safety, missing a linebacker. Those are two things that I love to target when targeting the slot and tight end. So both, Adams and Garrett Wilson are both in great spots. You're going to have to, like, this is a slate where you want to play a lot of lines, because it is very possible for a lot of these guys to have a boom game and a bust game. And you won't, if you bust on one of these guys, your lineup is pretty screwed. And you're paying up a lot. There's not a whole lot of great value like at that bottom price. There is some value, but not under where we want the value to be. So both of them are good. It's a coin flip. If I had to pick, I'm going to pick Devontae Adams in this one for 200 more. But I have nothing against Garrett Wilson, and if you want to make an argument for Garrett Wilson and tell me tomorrow that Garrett Wilson has a better game than Devontae Adams, I'm not going to be surprised. But if I had to pick one, it is Devontae Adams. Tank Dell, 9,200 against Jets defense without his other wide receivers. Granted, he's going to be the number one target. His numbers are better versus man than they are versus zone. But I think it's very clear the Jets they have to put an emphasis on stopping Tank Dell and let people like Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods, whoever's on the field, let them kind of beat you and try to just take Tank out of the game. Yet again, it's very hard. Like I really want to get Mixon, and it's really hard to play Mixon and a pass catcher or the quarterback for Houston. So it is tough. Like Tank Dell's been very efficient in the red zone too, which is a plus because the Texans do get down the field quite a bit. They have a good red zone percentage. Jets have a good defensive red zone percentage. It's just pricing. It is just pricing. If Tank Dell was like 8,500, this would be a different story. But he's 9,200. There's just so much up pricing. It's really hard to pick. Aaron Rodgers, I like Aaron Rodgers, 9,000. Yes, the Jets have been struggling. Houston's defense has been really good at containing yards, it seems like. But Aaron Rodgers, you look at the passing yardage he's had, faces I'd say a fairly good defense in New England, faces a fairly good defense in Pittsburgh. They're very up and down. Faces a good pass defense in Buffalo, faces a good pass defense in Minnesota, faces a good pass defense in Denver in a shit game. Like he's throwing for over 200 yards, right? And the pass attempts have been up there. Like they have been. Last week against New England, only 28. They should have won that game. The offense looked really good for the most part. But before then, 30 plus times he's throwing the ball. No Allen Lazard. So yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers for the price point on this slate. It kind of allows you to get two of these guys, whichever two you want to get. And it doesn't kill you as much as trying to go Stroud and two more of those guys. So I do like Aaron Rodgers at his price point at 9K. Dalton Schultz at 7K. There's only so many times I could say I like Dalton Schultz and him not pay off, right? Obviously, CJ Mosley's out. And I mentioned their safety, so the middle of the field for Houston is where Dalton Schultz is. But we look at his numbers. He hasn't got more than 10 DraftKings points in a game this season. He had a lot of good moments last year with Houston, maybe with both Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs out, this is the game. This is the game that Dalton Schultz has a good game, and you're getting him at a high. It is still a high. Like, I get the pass catchers are out for Houston, but Dalton Schultz, there is no reason Dalton Schultz should be more expensive than Tyler Conklin. There is none. There is none. There's none. Like, Tyler Conklin is a boomer bust guy. He either has a really good game, or they don't need to use him, or he's taken out of the game. Like, he's boomer bust. Like, I would understand Tyler Conklin being 7,000 and Schultz 56, but no, they gave the guy that, you know, I guess has more consistent numbers, I guess, but hasn't exceeded 10 points. So I like Dalton Schultz, but his price is up there. It is. With that, kickers are 100 million% in play tonight. You have two really, really, really good pass defenses. You look at their numbers; they've been very good in pass defense. And these are two teams to where, yeah, they have star running backs, but they have some top talent in pass catchers too. You take some risks, doesn't pay off, kick a field goal. That, you know, we're not going to see a Pittsburgh and Giants game, you know, when there's like 8 field goals. But in a game like this, I think seeing 4 or 5 is definitely within reason. And Fairbairn has just been one of the better kickers in the league. Only missed 2 field goals so far this season. But you look at his fantasy points, 17, 20, 16, 12, 12, 11. Yeah, the price for a kicker at 5,200, it is up there. It is. But, man, it's a good spot tonight, right? You got to find value somewhere. And Fairbairn is one of those guys. Now, as of right now, I've looked. I haven't seen anything to say of who the Jets' official kicker is. But either one is going to be at 4,800. Either one is definitely playable tonight in this one. Texans defense against the Jets. I like the Texans defense as a whole. I just don't think this is one where they get it done, right? So, kind of see against some of the better offenses in the league, and you know, Buffalo, they don't do the best against Green Bay. A lot of takeaways in that game. A lot of takeaways. 3 takeaways to get them there, but they still allowed 24 points. Like, this team, this defense is, I mean, besides the Bears, right? They just got a million sacks that game. They've been allowing 20 plus points a game. So, I'm not really there for the Texans defense as I am the Jets defense, to where you get a 1,300 or 1,200 pay down for them. But I mentioned Braylon Allen earlier, 4,400. If you wanted to get some exposure to a Jets running back, last week against New England, he got 12 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown, right? But you've seen how he's been used since the switch in play callers. It hasn't been as good. Down the stretch of the season, there's going to be times he's going to see the ball a little more than he probably should, but that's because they want to keep Breece Hall healthy the entire season, whether they make the playoffs or not. You don't want to get him a major injury into next season. So Braylon Allen at 4,400, I think, is in a good spot. Xavier Hutchinson, like, he's probably going to be the number 2 guy, if I had to guess, for wide receivers. It's just, he's more than likely going to see Sauce and DJ Reed. Michael Carter is their slot corner. That'll be Tank Dell's expertise there. So Xavier Hutchinson, I'm going to guess John Mechie is going to be the 2 guys leading in snaps over Robert Woods. And that's just my guess, right? Houston might see something they like more and go Robert Woods over one of these 2 guys more. But Hutchinson should be the number 2 guy. And Mechie, I would guess, is 3. I don't love him. If you want to find value, though, you're going to have to get creative sometimes. And at their price point, sure, like go for it. I don't love it. I really don't love it. They're just priced too high for not doing much, right? And I get it. Like, they're going to be on the field, but I mean, I like John Mechie. He just hasn't been used this season with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins there. Last season he had times, but if you're looking for somebody, it's Xavier Hutchinson, and again, hasn't been used as much. So it's a huge risk that you're taking on this slate. Backup running back for the Texans, Wale. I just know the end is Wale. I botched the beginning, the middle. I apologize. I really do. But he's 2,000. This would be a guy to where if Mixon gets hurt or something, he's going to see a majority of the snaps then. We kind of saw it a couple times. But that's, the Cam Akers game. So with Dameon Pierce out, he's the number 2 guy. So if you wanted to get, yet again, you want to fade Joe Mixon and go cheaper in other places, he's a guy to go to. Xavier Gibson at 1,200 is worth mentioning. But other than that, like there's not a lot down here. So you're taking risks, and this is what I mean, right? I said I liked Mixon. We put him in the lineup. I say I like Devontae Adams, and I said I like Aaron Rodgers. That's 6,700, and that's without a captain yet. That is very tough on a slate like tonight, right? You could put a kicker and say, hey, Fairbairn, puts you up to 7,500. Now let's say, hey, I want to go Jets. Let's go Jets defense, right? 11-6. That's Dalton Schultz. You cannot afford Breece Hall, C.J. Stroud, Garrett Wilson, or Tank Dell if you play. And it's the same. Like, you can mix and match. You could play 3 of these guys and cannot captain another, right? So you're going to have to decide who you're going to captain, who you're going to fit in. It's very tough on DraftKings. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. I will have cash and tournament videos going out later this week, and I will be live on Sunday. So tune into that. And I will see you guys in the next one.